Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at 6. I'm Nancy Cox. Kevin Christopher has the evening off. We're entering into the second season for tornadoes this year, and as new research shows, twisters are becoming more prevalent in the eastern part of the country, including Kentucky and surrounding states. Claire Kopsky and meteorologist Jill Swebb bring us more details in tonight's LEX18 Big Story at 6.
Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas are states many associate with tornadoes. A new study led by a professor of atmospheric sciences at Northern Illinois University explains there might be a shift in the weather.
It would seem that they're shifting a little bit further to the east, all driven by the path of where these storms are setting up.
This year alone, Kentucky has already seen 36 confirmed tornadoes, which when you stack the Commonwealth up with other states that typically head the tornado count, were among the leaders.
This study simply states it's hard to explain. They don't know why. There needs to be more research done. We have been seeing more significant storms. We've been seeing storms diving further to the south.
In the past few decades, researchers have seen a higher concentration of tornadoes in the east and the south, causing them to name a second tornado alley, Dixie Alley. But as this report states, there's been a higher concentration even in states like Kentucky and other surrounding states. Although Kentucky is more mountainous than states like Kansas, which is full of plains and known for tornadoes, Jill says the storms seem to care less and less about where they land.
It is to be expected that we see more tornadoes out to the west. It's as those tornadoes track closer to the hills, even of the bluegrass, that we start to see sometimes those severe thunderstorms breaking up, losing a little bit of their oomph. But it's still not to say that severe thunderstorms shy away from the hills.
One other concern highlighted is that as these storms move east, there's a higher risk for destruction than we've seen in the past due to twisters hitting higher populated areas. Covering the news, Claire Kopsky, LEX18 News.
A couple quick things to point out. I glanced over their study that they did earlier today. One of the things, they didn't actually count tornadoes. They used a proxy statistic to essentially try and measure tornadoes that way. So again, raw numbers don't necessarily correlate with that, but it's possible. The other thing is the National Weather Service and NOAA do not necessarily corroborate the evidence or corroborate the study. They have not endorsed it by any stretch. So the Dixie Alley they were talking about there, it's always been around. And tornado numbers change from year to year depending on what the overall weather patterns are. Kentucky this year, we're 9th place across the country, which is really unusual. We had more than Texas did this year. On a land area basis as well, Kansas still does lead the way. So with all that, our weather, no tornadoes, no nothing, because it is a clear night tonight. We have frost and freeze that we're talking about because we are getting into that time of the year. And we also mentioned that this is that second season of severe weather that comes as we transition from fall toward winter. That usually happens a little bit later in October and November. No severe weather, but plenty of cold. We'll talk about all of that in a couple of minutes.
Were sent home a letter today letting them know about a suspicious incident. School officials say a student found graffiti threatening violence on a flyer in the girls' restroom. School leaders and police officers on campus are investigating to find out who's responsible. A Knox County family still doesn't know exactly what caused a deadly crash Monday morning, which killed a beloved teacher and coach. But one thing's for certain, Brian Justice's family knows his impact on the community will not be forgotten. LEX18's Carolina Buchek has the story.
You continue to amaze me every day. Love, Brian, and then in parentheses it says Dad.
Brian Justice's words are now forever on Summer Mills's arm, as well as in her heart.
This is his exact handwriting, and they just copied it and put it on me.
Brian is Summer's stepdad, but he has always treated her as his own.
He has 3 children back in Tennessee that I know he loves with everything, and he accepted me and my little brother in as his own children.
On Monday morning, just like every other day, Brian Justice was driving to work at the Learning Academy in Barberville. But this time, something went wrong. He died in a bad crash at the intersection of US 25 and Old US 25, leaving his family devastated.
We're trying just to hold together and get through it.
The community is also in shock. So the Lynn Camp High School football team, where Justice was an assistant coach, will do something special for him at Friday night's game.
They're going to take the paw print in the middle of the field and paint it orange and white checker print. And under it, they're going to put #JusticeLeague because He was the coach for the punt return, and that's what they would always call it.
All to honor a man with many titles: coach, teacher, father, and loving husband. Covering the news in Knox County, Carolina Buchek, LEX 18 News.
A family is devastated after two cousins are part of a head-on collision. 17-year-old Brady Ramirez died shortly after the accident. Now his cousin and fellow student Carlos Lopez is in the hospital with serious injuries. Eleanor Buckley has more on the heartbreak felt around the county.
And all of a sudden I heard like a bomb went off.
That's when Teresa Applegate rushed outside. The first thing she saw were two pickup trucks totaled in her ditch.
I thought, oh my gosh, I hope it's not a fatality.
But Teresa's worst fear came true. One of the boys, Brady Ramirez, was airlifted from her home to UK hospital. Unfortunately, he died just hours later.
I knew there was complications. I didn't think he would pass away. I know it was such a tragic shock. I mean, they're friends of everybody. They're just really lovable boys.
And that shock is being felt throughout the town of Carlisle, especially at Nicholas County High School, where Ramirez's teachers and coaches are remembering the boy who was always laughing.
There was never a time that there wasn't a smile on Brady's face, and never a time where he wasn't around somebody that he tried to put a smile on their face.
Ramirez's former football coach says practice will be tough, but Brady would want the boys to keep going.
The practice will be a little somber today, but we'll go on and we'll try to use him as motivation for our game on Friday.
Covering the news in Nicholas County, Eleanor Buckley, LEX 18 News.
Nicholas County FFA is holding a cook-off dinner tonight, beginning in about 25 minutes to help raise money for funeral expenses. Everyone is invited. It's in the high school cafeteria. Several people are behind bars tonight, accused of robbing victims who thought they were buying items from Facebook Marketplace. Police say they were called to two robberies in downtown Lexington on October 5th. During one of those incidents, the victim was forced to withdraw money from an ATM. 3 juveniles have been arrested, along with 24-year-old Dejamar Hawkins. Hawkins faces several charges, including 3 counts of robbery, kidnapping, and possession of a controlled substance. The juveniles' names have not been released. No one hit last night's Mega Millions jackpot, but one lucky Kentucky player did match all the white ball numbers to win the game's second prize of $1 million. That $1 million ticket was sold in Madisonville at the Wicks Well Market and Deli on Nebo Road. And closer to home, there was a $10,000 winner sold down in Laurel County. That ticket was sold at the Village Market on Barberville Road in London. Last night's winning numbers were 69, 45, 61, 3, and 49, and the Mega Ball was 9. Excitement is building as the Mega Millions jackpot, now the second highest lottery jackpot in U.S. history, continues to climb. LEX 18's Catherine Collins stopped by a location where some winning tickets have been sold in the past to see if that lucky streak can continue.
You have to play to win.
I might have a chance.
I was like, oh my gosh, like I thought like, wow, that's so much money. What could you do with all that money?
And these customers at this Richmond convenience store say they won't be the one to miss out on their chance. Of course, Shelby Turner says she'd have endless plans if she won the $900 million Mega Millions jackpot.
I'd be able to pay off all my debt from school. I could get a nice car, start my business. Like I could sit here and just go on for days. Like what I could do, I could like buy a big farm and get a bunch of dogs because I want to do that too.
The jackpot has already gone up again today and could continue to rise before the drawing on Friday. Turner says she may get a little luck from the location she bought her ticket. It was under different ownership then, but at this exact spot, winning lottery tickets have been sold before, including a $1 million scratch-off.
Because now everybody's going to want to go get one.
But Turner says she'll take her chances because it'll all be worth it if she does win. Covering the news in Madison County, Catherine Collins, LEX 18 News.
That'd be nice. But before we even get to Friday night's Mega Millions drawing, there happens to be another little one. Powerball tonight has climbed to $345 million. Louisville police officers were called to help with a rescue Saturday morning, and their body cameras were rolling when they pulled up on the surprising scene. A deer had gotten into a home in the Valley Station area by jumping through a window and then was caught in the blinds. The homeowner pleaded with officers to be careful with the young buck.
No, please don't hurt it. It's bleeding a little bit, sweetie, from where it come through your window.
Oh, I'm afraid of that. My living room destroyed.
The officers helped get the deer to the door and set him free. After a brief hesitation, the buck took off down the street. He lost his wife and is now struggling to figure out how he's going to take care of his 2 special needs children. But coming up next at 6, watch how the community is reaching out to make a difference in his life.